From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up, Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, a sterling reputation gets shot up overnight. Leonard Hamilton sued by 6 players for failure to deliver on NIL payments. The transfer portal heating up, the latest on prospects. The Noles are prioritizing for the continued rebuild. And Helen, Georgia. A word or two on Helen, Georgia. Wake up, Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it, take it. Sip the juice. I say sip the juice. Aslan, what's sip the juice all about? Well, when we first started this partnership, they sent Corey and I a pallet each of all this delicious, nutritious vitamin energy, and they were that special yellow tape on it, and it said sip the juice. And I'm like, we never use that enough. We were very shake it or take it when we would promote the product that it's clinically proven to enhance your mood, your focus, your immune response, the pump in the gym. So that's why I say sip the juice, everybody. Go to VitaminEnergy.com, find your favorite variety, lock in, or get the variety pack and figure out which your favorite one is going to be. New Year's resolutions around the corner. Have more energy. Be more vibrant. Vitamin Energy. It'll help you. VitaminEnergy.com. Shake it, take it. Warchant.com, ultimate Seminole sports source. Hope you're hanging out over there. Lots of news recruiting-wise over there behind the paywall, which it's worth it, everybody. It's worth it. If you want to know it first, if you want to know the most up-to-date, in-depth information, you got to go to warchant.com. Otherwise, buckle up for the next 45 minutes or so. Corey and I will use our dulcet tones to soothe your worries about your football team. Although I think everybody's probably really excited right now about Florida State football, right, Corey? I think everybody's like, let's wake up and then hopefully be on August 29th or whatever, August 3rd, whatever the date of the Alabama game is, right? Everyone's excited, right?
Maybe not excited, but optimistic, I think. Maybe a little bit encouraged by what's going on in the portal. I certainly more excited than they were, let's say, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, or the Saturday before Thanksgiving, or the Saturday before Halloween, or the Saturday before maybe the Saturday before Labor Day. Okay. Is the last time the FSU fan base was really kind of excited about Florida State football. But, I think what they've done in the portal gets people whets their appetite a little bit.
All right, we'll talk about the portal here in a sec, but some news from Monday afternoon. I don't know if Jeff and Tom on air when this stuff happened?
But I think it broke. I think it came out before they went on air, but they definitely talked about it on the show.
I got you. All right, so usually we're able to get the first word on things. But we'll get the last word, I guess, this time around, Corey. So news came on Monday afternoon about a lawsuit against the head coach of your Florida State Seminoles men's basketball program, the beloved Leonard Hamilton. 6 former players, part of this lawsuit against Hamilton for failure to deliver on NIL pledge. Apparently, each of these 6 players, Darren Green Jr., Josh Nickelberry, Primo Spears, Cameron Fletcher, Deontay Green, and Jalen Worley, all 6 no longer with the program and now playing elsewhere, all allege that Coach Hamilton promised each of them $250,000 in NIL payments. I guess the important part about this, if you're a Florida State fan and you're worried about your brand coming under attack and things of that nature, is even the lawyer representing these 6 people, I think, went on Twitter and said this is not a lawsuit against the university or any of their NIL collectives. This is apparently Leonard Hamilton, the way he went about securing talent last season and keeping them on board, was telling them that he was going to be able to he had business partners that were going to be able to give them $250,000 each of these 6 players. They never received any payment. There was a point last season leading up to the Duke game, which was mid-February, where I think the whole team boycotted, Corey. I breezed through the lawsuit. I didn't get to read every single last bit of it, but I think most of the team boycotted practice leading up to the Duke game, and they were going to threaten to not play in the game because they had not received the money. Well, they ended up playing in that game. They only lost by 11 or 9. 9 points to Duke at the Tuck on that day. But later in November of 2024, this year, last month, they reached back out to Leonard. Apparently their messages were received, but they never received any of their money, so the lawsuit got filed the other day. real quick from me, and then Corral, obviously you'll be able to be more nuanced about this. It's just all I really want to comment on is it's a shame that this guy's been in the game for this long. And I think we'll all move on and we forget the biggest thing we're outraged about. We move on in the outrage cycle every 24 to 48 hours. So right now, Leonard Hamilton's getting memed and made fun of and all that kind of stuff, which is really unfortunate because he's been a beacon of integrity in this sport for so long. It's kind of disappointing to see this. I think it'll pass, but for right now, I feel bad. I'm disappointed for him that he has to deal with kind of being made fun of. And I don't know if I'm really that angry about him not delivering on these promises, but maybe I should be more angry about him not delivering on these promises.
Yeah, I think that's the there's two. Look, man, if he made promises, like legitimately made promises, it's an if, but it's 6 kids saying it. Then yeah, don't tell kids that you're going to pay them $250,000 and then don't pay them. That's not cool. It's also, I know it's not a written contract, but I think Florida law is that I think maybe most states, like a verbal agreement can count as an actual contract if it's a verbal agreement. Now, is there a recording of the agreement? I feel like that would have been part of the lawsuit. If any of these kids were recording their phones, I hope Leonard's an OG, man. I hope when he had this supposed meeting after the boycotted practice and they talked more about the NIL stuff, I hope he took everybody's phone. I hope he searched them.
Patted them down.
Yeah, patted them down. Like, you ain't bringing any recording devices in here. And he sat in, like, the shadows and, hid his voice like they do when a whistleblower's talking. But, yeah, man, I think that if he told them he was going to pay him money and then didn't deliver, whether it was people that were supposed to give Leonard the Rising Spear money and didn't, it's not a good look. It's not, it's breaking at least an agreement, if not a contract. And I get why those guys were upset. The flip side of that is Josh Nickelberry? Really? My man averaged 9 minutes a game? I want you guys to listen to that again. Not 9 points. 9 minutes a game. I think he made like 12 3-pointers all season, and he was he was brought into Tallahassee to shoot. Now, if you tell a kid you're going to pay him, it shouldn't matter how he plays. But I guess I would look at all 6 of those guys, not trying to be mean, not trying to say I take one side or the other, and I would be like, yeah, man, nobody is playing violins for you guys. If Trent Forrest had come out and said, yeah, if Trent Forrest was part of the NIL deal, if the NIL if that was the world back then, and Trent Forrest came out after the 2019-2020 season, like, yeah, coach promised me this, and I think Trent Forrest would have a lot of people on his side. When you're a bad basketball team and then you have bad basketball players suing a guy that's been here for 20 years, it's going to be tough to get a lot of people on your side, but our public perception on your side, but also that doesn't really matter. I guess it matters what the courts think. The statement that Florida State had later on in the day makes it sound like they back Leonard, at least initially, while admitting it's just a preliminary investigation, but that they back Leonard so far. And, we'll see. They don't play again till Saturday, right? They play Saturday against Syracuse. So we'll see. Leonard, it's funny. I was talking to Stephanie about this on our trip to Helen. And I was like, yeah.
So are you still in Helen, or did you guys
No,
go
no, I was saying on our trip there,
okay.
This broke. So I was talking to her and Brady about it. And I was saying, like, man, we don't ever have to ask uncomfortable questions to Leonard, really. Yeah. He's been there's been no controversy surrounding him really since he got here. Nothing substantial anyway that I can remember. So it's really it's going to be really surreal because I can't imagine he's going to say I'm not going to talk about that, but then I can't imagine he's going to talk a lot about it. But the reason I think he might is because the way that, can you read what the university sent out in response to the lawsuit? It's quick, it's brief, but it made it sound like Leonard might actually speak about it.
Well, again, just real quick, you mentioned Rising Spear. Darren Heitner, who's representing the players. The players are not suing the school or the collective. They're suing Leonard Hamilton in his individual capacity. The statement from Florida State, which came over on Monday afternoon as well, You want me to read the whole thing? Here we go. Since the beginning of the name, image, and likeness era of collegiate athletics, FSU has maintained a comprehensive compliance education program for coaches and other athletic staff and a clear expectation of ethical conduct by all dealing with student athletes. Upon learning recently of the allegations made by former men's basketball athletes, the university has worked diligently to determine what transpired last season through our inquiry is not yet complete, though our inquiry, rather, is not yet complete. At this point, we know of no unfulfilled commitments by FSU in terms of scholarships or other appropriate benefits or the Rising Spear Collective relative to NIL payments owed to the athletes. We support Coach Hamilton's right to defend himself against these allegations and look forward to an expeditious resolution of this matter.
Yeah, so defend himself. I wonder if Leonard will come out and say anything. My thought is he won't, but he might. I guess we'll see Saturday or Friday if he's made available Friday, or we might be told don't ask him questions about it, which doesn't mean we don't have to ask him. We don't have
What's
the
the chances
ability to ask
he's not going to
questions.
coach? What are the chances he doesn't coach on Saturday?
Oh, I would say 0.1%.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you wonder, to make it big picture, you wonder if this is the kind of thing where he's like, I'm done.
That's what I'm saying. I just wonder if he's like,
oh, you think he pull a Larinaga?
Yeah, like, all right, man, whatever, I'm done. All right, you got me.
Well, then that makes him look guilty. So I don't think he'd want to do that. Like, oh, I'm being sued, I'm just going to quit. I don't think he would. And I thought Larinaga looked ridiculous when he had his retirement press conference. Just the fact that he brought up NIL and how he was exhausted by it. It's like, man, that's how you got to the Final Four, dog. Your whole team was NIL. Yeah. You set the blueprint on how teams could pay for a roster and make a run.
Fair enough.
And then you're going to criticize the landscape that you helped create. Was a little bizarre, but I get it's exhausting. I get he's an older man. Sorry, I'm getting up there too. Leonard's an older man. He's 75 or 76. This isn't fun for them. So I think maybe, honestly, it could expedite. This might be it. Like, this might be the last season. Yeah. And maybe that was going to happen anyway. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it's time. Maybe it isn't. Personally, it's probably time. It'd be a good time for some fresh blood in that program, and I love Leonard to death. He doesn't owe me any money, though. I'm joking, folks. I'm joking. Where's the drum roll? Where's the to-do-do? But yeah, so I do think this is kind of an ugly. He's not used to this kind of ugliness around his name. It's also weird too, Aslan. Like, yes, let's say it is true that he promised these kids $250,000. Number one, why in the world would Darren Green Jr., who was like your second leading scorer and averaged 25 minutes a game, why is he getting the exact same amount as Josh Nickelberry?
Darren Green played 30 minutes a game, partner. But yeah,
well, whatever.
Yeah, to your point, yeah, I mean,
what kind of sense does that make? Everybody gets the same.
Cameron Fletcher only played in 7 games that year, and this was
he got
February.
hurt. Yeah,
but I'm saying, but this was February. I mean, did he play? I don't. Did Cameron get hurt? Like, did he start playing his 7 games in the middle of the season? Like, was he told these are? I guess he probably were.
No, I think he got
before the season started.
Yes, he got hurt before the 7 games into the season. I'm pretty sure. At least it was before ACC play. I feel like confident that that's when he got hurt, and he was coming off an injury anyway. But what in the world sense does it make to just blanketly pay $250,000 to each of these kids like they're the same value? Number one,
maybe that was his egalitarian approach with him. Was everyone's making the same amount of money? Because it sounds like these were conversations not held one-on-one. These were like group discussions.
Yeah, that's what it makes it sound like. The whole thing is weird. Obviously, none of us really know how a lot of this stuff works because we're not privy to these kind of meetings. It's also a little bizarre that Leonard is talking about it openly with the players. I mean, I think it's allowed now. It wasn't when Atkins was doing it, but I think it's allowed now. It's just that, like, I feel like there should be a money man in between the two parties that is talking about it. It's not Leonard. That's like Greg Popovich telling Devin Vassell what he's going to get paid per year. It's like, no, that's not his job. His job is just to coach who's on his roster, not corral the talent by promising dollar figures. That's a breakdown in the line of communication, in my opinion. I think Rising Spear is the ones that should be communicating with the players and paying the players if they told the players they were going to be paid. And I think there obviously is some validity to it because the dude from Rising Spear at least there's text messages with him talking about I thought I was going to get you $10,000 or whatever in a message to Worley, right?
I'm scrolling through. I've looked at the lawsuit. I didn't read the write-up there from our guy, Ross Dellinger. But, yeah, it says, crossing my fingers that I can shake loose at least 10 for you tomorrow.
What is that?
Sent to Darren Green.
What is that about? And also, so they boycotted the Duke practice, or they walked out of the Duke practice. They had the meeting, the emergency meeting where Leonard supposedly, allegedly promised them to get paid the following week. Well, then 4 or 5 weeks pass, and they were still playing.
Yeah.
So where's the disconnect here? But look, man, this is the way of the world. This is the world we live in. It's ugly at times because it is so kind of, again, when the Hawks draft Trent Forrest, there's a protocol in place. The Hawks are good for it, right? Yeah. There's a salary cap. It's the NBA. They're going to get paid. Just like Trent Forrest is going to sign a contract where he has to play. He is the Hawks' property for 3 years. Well, none of this is happening with NCAA players. None. So there's a lot of gray area, and there's a lot of shadiness on both sides. I'm not erasing any blame from Leonard. I don't know what happened. I do know. My favorite part of the article, this is by far my favorite part of the article, you guys can read it, is right at the end they talk about how Nickelberry texted Leonard, I think in July, right? After the season.
In July, yes.
By the way,
financial difficulties he was experiencing after
tell him what the text said.
All right, so in July, Nickelberry messaged Hamilton about the financial difficulties he was experiencing after completing his final season at FSU without having the promised $250,000. Quote, tired of the lies, coach. It's messing with my head, the text said.
Yeah.
I'll call you back in a few, Hamilton writes
That's
back.
my dog. He ain't going to leave a written word. He's not going to leave any written proof like Jim Herrick's dumbass did. Like Leonard all right, I'll call you back. You better, you know what I mean? Like that's the perfect response to that. That is awesome. That is an awesome response.
Which makes it think he probably did promise these guys money and then he couldn't deliver.
But it's also like, think about, I'm not saying you're being extorted because you might have really owed the money, and I'm not laying the blame on the feet of these guys. But maybe the reason Darren Green was still in Tallahassee, maybe the reason Nickelberry came at all, because he was being pursued by other schools, maybe even though his uncle is a coach on the team, was
good point.
Because
is he still with the program though?
Because I don't think so. You could look that up. Look up the staff. But the reason that they might have been in Tallahassee was because of that money that was promised. And if that's the case, if money was promised like that, and if that was the case, if it was a blanket promise to all these guys and they didn't get it, yeah, man, Leonard's at fault. At the same time, imagine being Josh Nickelberry in July after a 17-16 season in which he hit.
He's still here, by the way. Uncle or Kevin.
He's still here?
Yeah, he's still here.
Oh, that's awkward. 13 of 50. Josh Nickelberry hit 13 threes all season. He was 13 of 50. So he shot 26%. He was coming in to be a shooter. He hit 13 threes. Imagine him 3 months after the season's over texting the fringe Hall of Fame, borderline Hall of Fame coach to ask for his money after a 17-16 season. It's just hard to imagine Leonard being, what? Okay, man, I'm going to promise to get, who cares? Right. It sucks, but this is, I'm just saying, it's hard to feel like Leonard was going to rush and make sure these guys got paid. I don't know how much Leonard even knows about where the money comes from, how the money gets there. If it's Leonard or if it's Rising Spear telling Leonard, we'll get these guys this much, and then Leonard tells them that. I have no idea how those communications work. I do know it's a really bad look for 6 former athletes to be suing the head coach of a school. So I'm not going to sugarcoat that. Those are bad optics. And if he did promise them that money and didn't deliver, yeah, man, that sucks. Is it fireable? I don't know. I don't know. It might be like an offense where it expedites things, like we talked about earlier, but it's just
moral turpitude clause. I don't know if this would violate any kind of moral turpitude clause that most coaches have in their contracts.
Let me say this, though. I would be very, very upset, legitimately now. And I'm not taking sides, folks. I would be legitimately upset if Josh Nickelberry and Jalen Worley got Leonard Hamilton fired. Come on, man.
That's
not. There's no.
People have brought down stronger, more powerful
there's no
people
justice
before.
in the world if that's happening. But again, we don't know the details. We don't know the validity of it. It seems odd. It just seems odd to me that you make blanket promises to 6 players of such different import to the team, such different ability. Dante Green, man, what he averaged 5 a game. Nickelberry averaged 2 a game. And then Jalen Worley and Darren Green started every game. And they're all getting paid the same? What's Watkins getting? I mean, you know what I mean? Watkins better have been getting quadruple what those guys were getting. So, yeah, man, that's also the problem with playing so many guys, Leonard. When you play 10 guys, when you have a heavy rotation, you got to pay 10 guys. Cut that thing down. Whittle it down like Duke does. Just pay 6 of them. So yeah, I think because the way the way we become conditioned to NIL and how a lot of us aren't real comfortable with it at all anyway. The thought of some kid transferring in for 1 year, not being very good on the basketball court, getting $250,000, and, by the way, the scholarship and the education, getting $250,000 to be on a bad football team, a bad basketball team, and not win anything of note, go 17-16, and then sue the head coach because they didn't get paid. Yeah, I think some of us might roll our eyes and be like, oh, who cares? Who cares? Go to court then. But then also, if you promise a kid, it's not his fault he's not any good. If you make a promise, you made a promise. Is there any proof of the promise? Don't know. But if there is not any proof of the promise, then it shouldn't be a very long the settlement shouldn't take very long. There shouldn't be one. The dialogue anyway. But if there's a proof of a promise somehow, although nothing's written down and the attorney even admits that, then I don't know what they're going to get. I also would think this. Here's what I do think, Aslan. I do think this is now, what are we in, December of the following year? Nickelberry sent that text in July.
Yes. And they reached out to Leonard in November of this year before, and that's why the lawsuit has now been filed. They try to do like a last-ditch effort in November of this year, like, hey, man, like, can we please get our money? And there was no response ever given back to these gentlemen, so this is why they went ahead and filed suit.
So the fact that it is this, I do feel like, let's look at it from their side real quick, that they're telling the truth. This really did happen. There's 6 of them that can corroborate it. And Leonard made these promises, and then they didn't get fulfilled. They did give him a chance before going public. I literally do feel like 6 months later, or really honestly 10 months later. That's 10 months since the Duke game. They probably felt like this was their only choice. They didn't want to go public. Yeah. They just wanted their money, and then they could go, be mediocre basketball players somewhere else. But they wanted their money that they were promised. And it's a shot, but it's the truth. Or where are these guys starring anywhere? I think Worley plays some for Gonzaga.
I think the source said he's redshirting at Gonzaga.
No, that's right. He's redshirting. He was at Virginia, and he left Virginia already.
Oh, geez,
Tony
really?
Bennett quit. Well, yeah, because Tony Bennett quit.
Yeah.
So I wonder what Tony Bennett promised him. Hope he got some money there. He probably told Bennett, "Don't worry about it. I got $250,000 coming from Leonard." So you don't owe me anything.
I do like in the story it says several of the messages in conversation with Hamilton, players communicated they needed the money to pay taxes, rent, and car notes.
Yeah.
I got to pay taxes. I need my NIL money so I can pay my
I don't understand about taxes, but I do understand about the cars. Like if you're told from the head coach that you're getting $250,000, well then you probably go ahead and make some purchases because you think the money's coming. Again.
But hey, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what do you think? I don't want to.
Oh, no. So I think – so what I was saying, though, is I do think if people were mad at the players, and I think, again, they would have much more they would have more people in their corner probably if they were been better. Which isn't fair, but it's the truth. That none of these guys are Florida State heroes or legends. They barely won. They lost 16 games last year.
Hey, they did say that this affected them. The money situation is weighing on a lot of the guys. And
otherwise that was probably a Final Four team. I guess we'll never know.
Maybe at least get out the first weekend team.
Right, get to the Sweet 16. That's fine. Yeah, it's true. But, yeah, so I do think that was March, man. Their season ended in March, and now here we are in December. So I do feel like if everything they say is the truth, then they did give Florida State, they did give Leonard Hamilton, they did give Rising Spear, whoever's you deem
Leonard,
responsible for this.
Stop throwing these poor guys. I mean, they've had
but
enough bad
Leonard
PR.
isn't paying them out of his own wallet.
But it made it sound like it was his business partners, or like he had business partners in mind that were going to make this work.
Yeah, wouldn't that mean the collective, or are you talking about like Warchant?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, what does that mean?
He's got a record label and stuff. Maybe he's got people he knows in the business that need, like, they want to diversify their portfolio and stuff. Like, let me get involved with some of these young guys, and when they make it pro, they can give me a big chunk of money back. Or
yeah.
Like that.
So maybe, and it didn't come through. So I get that, but whoever you want it, I do think they gave him some outs. Like I think if this is all true, and they've been mad about this for 10 months, they waited 10 months now. Now, this is December. I feel like they just thought this was their
it says the origins of the NIL promises date back to April 23.
So, yeah. So, what is that? So that's 8 months that they were well, no, it has to be. Yeah. Right. So,
April 2023.
So that's, what is that, 20 months?
Yeah.
Jeez Louise. So, yeah, they probably – I mean, clearly they didn't want to go public. It's not like these guys all said something as soon as they were done playing their season. They also played in all the games. They didn't walk off the court or boycott games. So, that's it's a very shady kind of world where head coaches are having to make promises of that kind of money to players to get them to practice and to play. But it's also the world that is now college football, or college basketball, or college sports in general. So I don't know. It's just ugly. I hope it gets resolved. I hope it doesn't end up in a courtroom. So yeah, I just hope it gets resolved. But we'll see if it does, because it's hard. It's hard in hindsight, right, to go back to business partners, quote unquote, or to a collective, or to a benefactor, and be like, "Can you please give me this money to make this go away?" It's like, what do you need it for? Who's it for?
$1.5 million, right? 6 guys, $250,000 each.
Yeah. So it's like, well, who do you need it for? Who are the guys that are? Oh, it's Jalen Worley. What? Darren Green. Dante Green. Oh, so both of the Greens. Nickelberry, Primo Spears, and Cam Fletcher, who didn't play. We got to pay. We got to get $1.5 million to give to players that are done playing, that aren't here anymore, and weren't good when they were here. Yikes. Could be a tough sell. So anyway, but also Leonard Hamilton has gotten very, very rich coaching Florida State basketball. So I don't know what that means, but just remember, as we criticize, I guess I criticize guys asking for $250,000. Leonard Hamilton has made, what do you think, man? $30 million coaching Florida State basketball over the last 20 years. $40 million. So. Nobody's playing violins for Leonard either. It's just that this is ugly that it became public.
Yeah, the level of this kind of allegation. So he makes $2.25 million, and if signed a 5-year deal back in 21. So
yeah,
that's a good chunk of money. The level of these allegations, and the fact that he is 76 years old, he's been in this game for so long. I don't think he can really stand pat. I don't think you hunker down and this blows over. I mean, it blows over in the fact that.
Here's the reality, though, man. I don't think many people care, honestly. Like,
the outrage cycle. Yeah,
I don't even think there's that much outrage, and I'm not talking about. Obviously, Florida State fans might stand by their coach or criticize the players for doing this. I'm talking about just in general. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of outrage about this. Yeah. Maybe there should be, but I just don't think this is something that's going to draw the ire or mockery or outrage from the rest of the college basketball or college sports world, because it's like that's so much money, and it just seems a little shady. But also, that's what this is. And if they're, again, I keep using the word shady. I don't know why, but I don't think it's going to cause a lot of outrage.
I don't know. What if this happened to like Mark Few though? I mean, I know Mark Few's had some more success than Leonard, but Leonard's got a pretty impeccable resume in that coaching fraternity and in college. Coaching circles, high school coaches, AAU circuit, like people look up to Leonard, and like Leonard's got to be a guy that taken at his word, like that's just his word is his bond. He's got to be one of those guys that people like. He's the most stand-up guy I know, or maybe the image I have of him in my head maybe is not the way that people view him. But I can't imagine you wake up and you feel very good about this. And I don't know if you really
right,
just
but I
not
think
say anything and hope it's going to blow over. I don't know if that's
It's
that's
different than I agree with you, but I think when it comes to this particular topic, NIL, and players that have done nothing for Florida State legitimately getting $250,000 on top of, the education and everything, the free education, the scholarship. Like, I don't think that draws the kind of ire or outrage or disappointment that, like,
But the thing is, they didn't get the money, Corey. It's one
no,
thing if
I'm
you pay
saying,
these,
like, even lying about money, I don't think that outrages people that much because a lot of people don't agree with it in the first place.
Yeah.
So, Leonard, whatever you have to do. It's like, what if you told the kid he was going to play 32 minutes a game? Is he going to sue you for that because he only played 19? Like, again, that was a promise that was made. Yeah, you're my starting point guard. You're going to play 31 minutes a game. There's a lot slimier stuff that head coaches have done in this world and continue to do. I'm thinking about Louisville, but we could take it any number of places where that's kind of gross stuff. And I'm not saying Leonard didn't do wrong here, and I'm not saying Leonard doesn't deserve to be criticized. I'm not saying he didn't lie to these kids. I'm saying some people just aren't going to care because it's like they don't agree with it in the first place. That Primo Spears is getting $250,000 to jack up crazy shots all game. I don't think they're going to care that much if he didn't get that money.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder what Ham's phone might have some messages from guys like Boeheim, like, good.
Yeah,
good,
right?
glad.
Or guys like Tony Douglas or Trent Forrest or Vassell, like, Coach, what is this about? Yeah. You know what? By the way, Scotty Barnes.
Help
your
team,
coach
man.
needs $1.5 million
Come on, Scott.
to make something go away. Come on, man. You're making 20. He'll pay you back. He's good for it. Make this thing go away, Scotty. Or Devin. Those are two big money guys. There's somebody else, I think, in the league. Jonathan Isaac. Yeah. Come on, guys.
All right. You know who always delivers on their promises? I shouldn't say that in this point. Right. Corner Pocket Bar and Grill's not going to let you down, everybody. Daily lunch specials from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. for only $8.99. Comes with a side dish of your choice. It is New Year's Eve. Are we going to muddy the waters with trivia on a New Year's Eve night? I wouldn't think so, Cor, but I don't know. You got better feel for the vibe.
Oh, no trivia. No trivia. It's just straight celebrating
debauchery.
The new year. And kind of, more than anything, right, saying goodbye to the old year.
Yeah.
Get that thing going. It's glad this happened in 2024, too.
When's the last time – I know we're in the middle of a read. I'll maybe ask it coming out of the read. The last time I was at Corner Pocket Bar Girl has been too long. Don't make the same mistake. Make plans if you don't have any for the New Year's Eve to head up maybe the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. There'll be a playoff game on. There'll be a champagne toast when the ball drops. Be surrounded by great people, delicious food, ice-cold drinks, TVs galore. All over at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway, cptallybar.com, the website. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. When's the last time it was December 30th of a year and people weren't like, can't wait to put this one behind us? It feels like it's a constant refrain. Like, do we got to go back to, 2013, 2014 to have good vibes like coming out of the end of a year? Is everything attached to our football program in terms of how we feel about things?
No, I think 2022, people were excited about how that ended.
That's a good point.
And all those guys that announced they were coming back, I assume they got their money. So they came back and they were happy to play. And yeah, I think that was only a couple of years ago. And I think even 2023, to an extent, it was still an awesome season to be a part of. It's just that the first 11 months were really fun. That last month was a bummer. This month, for the last 4 months, obviously, have just been a disaster. And I would say probably the cherry on top is your legendary head coach being sued by former players. That's for not paying them their NIL money. That's just the cherry on top to a very forgettable sports year at Florida State. Save for, Tanai Latson's really fun to watch. The soccer team won it. No, they won it in December of 23, right? Yeah. So, yeah, and then they got bounced in the second round, so that was a disaster. The softball team didn't make it to – so really it was like the baseball team. And the men's golf team finishing runner-up, which, again, kind of was heartbreaking. So, yeah, you just kind of want to punt 2024 away.
Yeah. All right, well, what's got you feeling good about 2025 is what Florida State has done in the transfer portal so far, and they're not showing any signs of slowing down. Last week there was news about Utah State running back Rasul Faison planning to make it over to campus. Looks like that's still going to be happening here. don't know if we have an actual date here on the screen. I don't have one in front of me here. But he's a back that was at Utah State this past season, ran for 1,100 yards, averaging 5.6 yards per carry, had 8 touchdowns. Lots of teams in the mix for this young man. Utah, I think Georgia's in the mix for this guy as well, so we'll see how that goes. I don't know. I'm not all that urgent about needing a running back, but hey, I'm not assembling this roster, so I'll trust the people that do. Georgia, Florida State, Utah, several of the teams in the mix for him. We'll see if Florida State can land it. One news that seems a little bit more crystal clear, I guess you could say, is a linebacker that entered the portal. Again, the portal closed for most folks on the 29th, but if you're playing a football game of any sort, bowl game, FCS playoff game, you've got 5 days after your season has ended to get the paperwork filed in there. Caleb LaValle, linebacker from North Carolina, is expected on campus January 2nd. Pete Nakos has got him forecasted to actually end up committing to Florida State. He's from Smyrna. Is that Smyrna?
Smyrna.
Yeah. He's from there originally. 2 seasons in Chapel Hill. This past year, he played 114 snaps, but he played 65 of them in the bowl game against UConn. Otherwise, spot duty, not great stats, but he started the bowl game against UConn. Corey played 65 snaps, graded out at 78.5, which that's spectacular.
That's good.
So he's listed at 6'1", 225. I don't know if Bill Belichick couldn't afford to keep him or Bill Belichick didn't like what he saw on tape, but John Papuchis did. So that's one guy that seems to have a level of urgency to him possibly enrolling at Florida State because they need defensive linemen more than anything, but they could still use some probably linebacker help. And then True Edwards out of Louisiana Tech, wide receiver, 6'2", 200 pounds. That's a guy that said to our Matt Lasser he's planning on getting on campus here in Tallahassee sooner rather than later. 85 catches, 989 yards, 6 touchdowns this past season out there in Ruston. A native of the Shreve, by the way, Corey.
All right. So you knew he grew up hard.
Yeah, well.
He grew up without much.
With character.
Yeah, a lot of character. Yeah, he had, like me growing up on Jimmy Carter Boulevard, R.I.P. He had to grow up in the Shreve.
That's right.
Yeah, it's different there, man. Yeah. I'm telling you, folks, I was at the hotel, the team hotel that Florida State stayed at for that Independence Bowl or whatever we call it. What did we call it? The Walk-Ons Bowl.
Yeah.
And right across the street was a Hustler Club. That's what we're dealing with. And it was closed, which sucked because I banged on the door for like 5 minutes. And I thought I saw people in there, but nobody came to the door, so I guess it was closed. But yeah, so that's what you're dealing with the Shreve. So he grew up. He's got character. He's gritty. So yeah, that'd be a nice get. That'd be a nice get. I like the production. Yeah. I like the production, Aslan. When it comes to the linebacker kid, yikes. That's not a lot of production. I do like the way he played in the bowl game. He led them in tackles. He had 9 tackles, but half of his snaps he had all season were in the bowl game, and that's because other guys left. But at least it was encouraging what he did in the bowl game. But that is absolutely the linebacker you needed was the guy you got from Nebraska. This is a guy that might be something.
Oh,
the Nebraska linebacker is going to start for you or play a lot. Nicholson, Cryer, that guy, Omar Graham. You've got guys with some real experience now at linebacker. This guy is a guy that might be something good. You just don't know because he's a redshirt. He'll be a sophomore. He's only played 1 year of football, and even then, he's played 1 game the last 2 years.
Another name of interest, Jason Jenkins, defensive lineman from Tennessee. According to his sports agency, he plans on being in Tallahassee on January 2nd, then North Carolina January 3rd, and then Texas Tech on January 5th. He played at Tennessee this past season, listed at 6'6", 281 defensive end. Did not start any games, but played in 214 snaps and played in over 25 snaps in 4 of the last 5 games for the Vols. Graded out really well in 3 of those games. Vanderbilt in the Ohio State game, he graded out at 60 or less. But against UTEP, Georgia, and Mississippi State, he graded out at 73 or higher. So that, maybe that's another kind of edge-setting guy here that they need in this kind of 3-3-5 scheme they're going to run. But it seems like defensive line that remains the biggest sort of need, I would think right now. Is that still where you're at, Corey, or is anything else catching your eye this time of year looking at the roster?
Oh, no, 100%. I'm about the defensive line. I think they need more bodies. I think they need an infusion of talent. They need an infusion of bodies, and let's hope they get some. I mean, I guess the beauty is, right, Aslan, there's another window. So if you miss out on it, you've got 4 months to kind of get your ducks in a row. And then once the window hits at the end of spring, I think it's April something, is when the portal window opens back up. And here's the good thing about it. I wonder about this, Aslan. I just literally thought about this. So you could go get a guy from Tennessee that's had 150 snaps or 200 snaps, or he might be pretty good. You don't know. But he might be the best available right now. But do you wait and see what you have in the spring? You do a real self-evaluation of what you've got. Maybe one of these young guys is playing really well, and you feel like you don't need to go get 3 extra bodies. You just need 1. So is that kind of what you do? You kind of hold the hand to your you play it close to the vest right now. You don't go all in right now as we sit here in late December and just start signing guys for depth pieces, because then you won't have the room for the next period, the next window, and you get a chance to self-evaluate what you really need. Like Terrence Knighton will know what he really needs on the defensive line by April 5th, April 10th. And then he can make a much more educated approach to who he wants to go get in the portal. Well, I don't know if is the spring window going to become like the second national signing day for high school recruits? Is that going to be really empty and not many guys are even available anymore, or will that be like a whole another Christmas where it's just gifts everywhere? Yeah, I don't know how that's going to proceed, how that's going to work.
I don't think it fleshed out a lot of program-changing talent last year, but who knows if it'll change this time around.
But not Florida State program changing. You mean just in football?
In general, I don't think there was any kind of big – there's probably 3 or 4 guys, but I'm sure those guys were like finishing touches on an already strong roster. I don't think it was – I don't think BYU got their quarterback that helped lead them to that record they had this past season, being acquired that late in the game. I don't want to, make it too difficult on these coaches, but they're paid a decent amount of money to look at tape on these guys. And I get it. Like, you've got winter conditioning to get feedback from Josh Storms and those guys about what guys look like, and then you're going to get 15 hands-on practices. But man, I don't think coming off 2-10, and we talk about win now mode, I don't know how much caution you can throw out there where, all right, we feel good where we're at now. We'll reassess here after April. I think like this kid, this Jason Jenkins kid apparently is, there's buzz around him, whatever that's supposed to mean in this day and age in terms of, reporters saying that he's one of the more coveted guys that's out there. But it's everything's relative, right? It's right. Who's in there right now. But he's a 6'6", 281-pound redshirt sophomore. That's
he might be a bad example because he might be a guy that everyone wants. But maybe there's like a guy that's just a depth piece.
Right.
That's been somewhere for a few years. He like a no offense, but like a Gilbert Edmond.
Okay. Right.
A guy that's going to be a backup player, but he's productive enough. He's at least serviceable. But do you go and get him in December, or do you wait to see what other better because let's be honest, man, they're all available. Nobody that's on any football team in America is just off the board. Yeah. They are all available to go be bought, unless their contracts are ironclad. They are almost all available to be bought, at least almost all the good ones. So you don't have to go reach right now and then load your depth chart and scare off other guys that are like, I don't know, man, it looks to me like you got 5 defensive ends already, to go get a guy that's just okay. Like, or maybe you do. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's the plan. I'm saying I wonder how much of the spring window comes into account at all. The fact, not just that they know there is one, but they know they'll get a look at this team, and then that thing is still available. It's like literally the next day or the next week. They're like, okay, we just watched these guys for 15 practices. I know in a scrimmage. I know exactly what we have here at this position. We have a dearth of talent here, and we got to go find some more. I wonder if that's an approach, especially with the new coaching staff, to give them a chance to do their own evaluation of who's here. Yeah. Like, there's a chance. Oh my gosh, I just forgot the new receivers coach's name.
Oh, Tim Harris Jr.?
Yeah, there's a chance he looks at some of these guys and like, no way, man. He can't play for me.
I know,
he can't play for me.
What between what? Like what he saw on tape?
Yes,
film?
no. I'm saying once he watches them in practice. Or just the way they are in practice, and he doesn't like them. He doesn't like the way they compete
they're not
or their work
to his
ethic.
Coaching or things
yes,
like that.
And he's like, this guy can't play for me. He's either not going to be good enough, or in fact, half these guys can't play for me. I need some help now. Like, that's something he won't really know. He can watch film, but what film is there to watch? He's going to get such a better handle on things by being there for 15 practices. So I wonder, we always bring up Keon. I think Dylan Gibbons was a spring enroll after spring. Justin Turnentine. I mean, they've had some guys that have come after spring.
I think Dimitri Emanuel was a late signing too for them.
Cam Riley.
Yeah.
So they've had some guys. They get at least a few every year, and obviously some really productive guys. So I wonder if they're going to. I just wonder with a new coaching staff if that's a part of the plan. Is because they can't get. I mean, they can't. Are they going to get another 30 guys? I think they have 30 roster spots open right now.
You said the other day thought they might double up on what they've already got in the portal, right? They got
yeah, but that still leaves them.
Probably.
That still leaves them 10 or 15 behind the number they could hit. So I wonder if how much that's going to be in play. That's all. It's just it'll be interesting to watch what they do because really, right? It's the next week, and then they're done.
Well, I mean, it depends on what teams, make it to the next round of the playoffs.
I get. When is the national championship game is like in late January?
Is it? I thought it was actually going to be in February, which is like
maybe. I know. I think it's the week before the Super Bowl. It's crazy. So you're telling me, let's say it's Notre Dame.
January 20th. I was being hyperbolic.
So
20th.
if Notre Dame plays Texas for the national championship on January 20th, there's going to be guys that have till January 25th to enter the portal.
Correct.
And then what? Schools started everywhere.
Yeah, it's a problem.
But I mean, they're going to be allowed to go. They're going to make exceptions, right? They're going to give them the Cliff's Notes of what's happened in class the first 3 weeks. It's such a bizarre schedule and timeline now. But there'll probably be a few from the national championship game that enter the portal. But by and large, right? We think the next week, maybe the next week to 10 days. Because I guess the quarterfinals, there's 4 more games that'll be played. So by January 7th or 8th, we should have a really good idea what's going to be on this team. Or at least who's going to be in the portal, but also what this roster will be in for spring practice.
Another name, and didn't mean to bury the lead on this one, Marquez Watson-Trent, Corey, who's going to be on campus January 1st, plays linebacker, stout young man, 5'11", 225.
I like it.
He's been out there in Statesboro the last 5 seasons. He started the last 3 years for your Eagles, everybody, the Georgia Southern Eagles. Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year this past year, 809 snaps, grade out at 79.6. PFF has him with 62 tackles. I think he tweeted out that he had 102 total tackles, 9th in the country, 7.5 TFLs, 4 forced fumbles, and 2 sacks.
Okay.
That's what he tweeted out.
I believe him.
Yeah.
I believe him. And PFF does they just do solo tackles. They don't combine them all like schools do. Right. So just 62 solo tackles is a nice number. But, 100 tackles, what did you say, 4 forced fumbles?
120, 7.5 TFLs, 4 forced fumbles, which is 3rd in the country, he alleges.
Well, I'm going to go say he's right.
I'm saying, I'm not trying to cast aspersions on this young man. I'm just saying I don't want to be a podcast that gives you incorrect information. So take that.
So you attribute it to him. That's right. Well, I got you. I'm with you. I'm on your side on that one. That's again production.
Well, he says that he has an 81 PFF grade. It's actually 79.6 Marquez. So
he's a liar.
Let's tighten it up a little bit, buddy.
Come on, man. Come on now. Come on.
Maybe he tweeted that out before his bowl game. I think the bowl game might have brought him down a few.
That's true. Maybe he didn't have a great
Marquez, I apologize, big dog.
But man, a guy with those kind of numbers,
production.
That's awesome. That is a lot more enticing to me. Even though you're only getting them for a year, that is a lot more enticing to me than
LaValle from North Carolina.
Yes, just because it's the known. But sure. LaValle might they might project him to be awesome in a 3.35. I don't know. I'm sure they watch film of him.
Not to be too facetious, though, but, anything with the fact that his head football coach is Bill Belichick, and they said they were going to give him a $20 million NIL budget, salary pool, whatever, and for his foibles and drafting people offensively, feels like he still probably is okay at evaluating defensive talent.
What if FSU's offering more? What if this kid is going to get the Jalen Worley money that they've been hiding?
It's been an escrow.
They paid some money on that. So, yeah, they're just offering him more money. People go where the money is, man. Who knows?
I would think that they would prioritize this Watson Trent kid over LaValle. But, yeah, LaValle, I don't want to say project, but maybe you just see some upside to where, like, another year of him starting or playing more reps. Because, again, he played like 160 snaps this past year, but 60 of them or whatever were in the bowl game. So he has not played a lot of football. Maybe they feel like they can get him at a lower rate or something, or he's from Georgia, maybe wants to being back in Tallahassee is closer to Smyrna than Chapel Hill. I don't know the geography of all this sort of stuff, but maybe that makes sense. But I would think that they probably I would hope they're prioritizing Watson Trent because
I would think so. I would think so. So, yeah, it's always good when you get a conference player of the year. And I'm not saying they're getting him. Who knows? But it's always good when he's on your campus and you've got a chance to get him. And, yeah, that would be a very good get. And either way, the team is going to be better. Can't be worse. The team is going to be better in 2025. And that's the most important thing, right? Are we doing a show before New Year's?
I don't know. That would be doing a show later today on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, we don't want to do that, do we?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, all right. Well, I would – before we go, I would just like to thank everyone for listening. I know it wasn't always the easiest listen because it was a horrible, heart-wrenching season. But we really do appreciate all you people listening to us. We hear from so many of you how we're part of your lives. Some of you aren't really that excited about it. Your spouse makes you listen to us, but still, we really do appreciate all the nice and kind words that people have said to us about the show over the years and being a part of your lives. We don't take it for granted.
Yeah, the years. This is gonna be football season number 8. I think with us doing this together.
2025, yeah.
We did 2
Golly,
with Willie,
think about
5 with Mike, and this will be year 6 of Mike. Yeah.
Think about like all the stuff we've had to talk about. like we got a 13-0 season sprinkled in there, so that was fun. Yeah. But even that one got torpedoed at the end and was a real bummer. That was the biggest bummer of all. But we got Willie's 2 years. We got COVID.
Yeah.
We got Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
And then we got the NC State debacle when Jordan threw the pick in the end zone, and then they won 19 in a row, and then we had 2 and 10, and the snub. I mean, what a up and down.
Worst season in 50 years, but like you said, 19 in a row before that.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun again next year. So, yeah, subscribe. That way you'll know when we're dropping a show. We will have one more show this week, though, I think we'll drop a Friday show for everybody. We'll catch up the day. It'll be like 2 days after the playoffs have ended, or at least the quarterfinal round has ended. But we'll offer up some of our thoughts on that, and maybe we'll get Michael Langston or Matt Lacerre on the program because I think by that time that we record a show, a lot of the guys that we just mentioned there in the transfer portal will have been on campus, and we probably have some idea of where they're leaning. So we'll bring that to you towards the end of the week. If you don't feel like waiting all the way until then to hear about Florida State, go to warchant.com, Jeff Cameron Show. Follow Warchant on social media. But, the good stuff is going to be over on the PRB, the Premium Recruiting Board, the Tribal Council as well. So,
hey, tell them we might release the show early on January 2nd.
Okay, so Corey wants me to tell you guys that we might release the show early on January 2nd.
So it won't feel so stale if we're talking about the New Year's Day shows, the New Year's Day games, the playoff games, 2 days later. It'll be the next day, and it's just we won't have a show for you. The show for on January 3rd, we will just drop 10 hours early, 8 hours early, something like that. How's that sound, Aslan? I think that's a great idea.
You've been warned, so people that like to listen to this on night shift or early in the morning or whatever, just be disciplined and don't
listen to it.
Don't
gang.
hit play. Don't hit play until 5 a.m. on Friday the 3rd. So, all right. That's
I did want to throw one thing out at you before we leave. Am I the blank hole? Is that Reddit thing?
Right.
And I don't think I am. I already know the answer.
AITA.
So we're in Helen. If anybody that's ever been, God bless you. I hope I never go back.
So wait, are you currently there?
No. We were only there for like 4 hours. And 2 of those were waiting on our meal.
How long of a drive is it from Atlanta?
Oh, like an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
It's not much. It's just north. And before that, we actually stopped at the Cabbage Patch Hospital for the Cabbage Patch dolls. They had in Cleveland, Georgia. They have the Baby General Hospital. Stephanie never been there, and she was very excited. And they had a live birth. of one of the Cabbage Patch babies. It's unbelievable. I
Listen,
can't believe that happened in my life.
Real quick, my dad was in the doghouse a lot with my mom, and he spent an inordinate amount of money on high-end jewelry to get out of the doghouse, and it very rarely made an impact on my mom. One day, and I'll always remember this, my dad in the late 80s brought home a Cabbage Patch doll for my mom, and she about teared up, and she's like the most stoic woman ever. She was so moved with emotion. Like, that was the best gift he ever gave her, was a freaking Cabbage Patch.
It's crazy. And Stephanie was so excited. She sat in this little Cabbage Patch and took a picture of it to send to her best friend from childhood so they could reminisce about all their Cabbage Patch dreams, I guess. Yeah. And weirdly, Brady wasn't that into it. That was odd. I thought this 16-year-old kid would be all about it. I did try to explain to him, like, the Cabbage Patch dolls in the 80s were a huge deal. That was like a viral toy, but it was the biggest gift in the world.
It was like a Beanie Baby. It was like a Beanie Baby, Brady.
Well, that's before his time, too. I couldn't think – it was before it tickled me Elmo. I couldn't come up with a good comparison that a kid would understand for, like, how incredible – like an Xbox 12 or an iPhone 16, Brady. Yeah. Think about the iPhone 16. So anyway, we went to the Cabbage Patch Baby Hospital. That was something. And then we go to Helen, and Helen is just a train wreck. There's no traffic control. There's no real parking spots. There's nowhere to park. It's just people walking along the narrow sidewalks, running into each other. Anyway, so after I'm probably in the car for 30 minutes, and I've gone 0.4 miles. I swing into this parking lot that is full. That looks like it's completely full, and I guess I'm going to have to do like the people in the mall that you just wait for a shopper to come out and follow them to their car. Yeah. And then I try to pull in this one lot, and he's like, no, you came in the wrong way. I can't let you into this lot. I'm like, well, yeah, you can because you could just get out of the way.
I'm in the lot right now.
Yeah, he's like, no, I can't. You have to come in the other lot. And then I see this woman standing in a parking lot. In a parking space. Yeah. Standing in it.
Oh, boy.
And then her husband joins her and stands next to her. And I pull up, and I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing? And she goes, oh, we're waiting for the car. And I go, okay, so can my son get out and wait with you, and then I can park there too? And she kind of smiles and then points and then eventually kind of just walks away. And because I wasn't moving, I was sitting there hovering, like I was not going to let a car. Who thinks they can stand in a parking lot? And I don't even know, the car wasn't in the parking lot. Let me make that clear.
Yes.
The car was still in traffic and had called ahead to try to get them to hold a spot for them.
No,
and they thought they were going to stand in a parking space.
No, you're not you're not because
okay, good.
Everybody has jokingly said that to somebody in the car, like, hey, I should get out the car and go stand in jokingly, but everybody knows there's no way you would do that. You can't just stand in a parking spot. That's not the way society works. Nope, that was wrong.
Okay, good. I didn't think I was, and honestly, it felt good. I'm glad Brady got to see that.
So, Dad, yeah, all right.
Yeah, that's what I do. Or Brady was going to have to stand out there with him. And we were going to wrestle or something. Somebody was going to get that parking spot. So yeah, Helen is just it's I don't even know how to describe it. It's something everybody should go see once.
I thought it's a Bavarian alpine ski town.
It's not a ski town, but it's a Bavarian town that sells overpriced T-shirts. Okay. All the restaurants are slammed because they don't hire enough wait staff. We literally were told we had a 2-hour wait to go into a restaurant on a Monday afternoon. Granted, a 2-hour wait at 3:00 in the afternoon. And there were 7 tables that were empty. And we were still told it was going to be a 2-hour wait. Because clearly they didn't have enough help. They didn't have enough staffing. Because why would you want to staff your restaurant when people are coming over the holidays? So anyway, maybe I'll go back in April and it'll be more fun. But I can't imagine how. All right. So that's Corey's. I'm sure there's people listening to this that love Helen or went to Helen when they were kids. It's just cranky Corey that had to deal with that traffic and then walk around and look at I don't know, Tupperware stores and glass-blowing stores and some fudge.
All right, folks. With that said...
Hey, Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely. We'll drop another show later this week. Have a happy, healthy New Year. Be safe out there, everybody. Tune in to the Jeff Cameron Show and stay connected to warchant.com for everything Florida State. For Corey, I'm Aslan. Thanks so much for listening to another year of Wake Up Warchant. This time presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com.